Hey everybody, I wanted to make a video just about advice that myself and other volunteers would give to future volunteers or future applicants. Just for a little bit of a context thing here, at this point of recording, we've all just been sworn in as volunteers, so we are no longer trainees. So what does that mean? That means that the experience we have right now is that for the last 10 weeks, we've had Peace Corps training for half the time, and the other half of the time we've lived in a host village. Or at least that was the case for the Gambia. I can't speak to other countries. So what that means is, like half the time we were in the Peace Corps Training Center, it was in a closed space. We had class from 8 to 5. And the other half of the time we were living in a host family, with a host family in our host village, learning the language, culture, learning their foods, all that jazz. And that was 10 weeks. And so it's with that context that I wanted to get us to give some advice to you all. I think it's also important to know that I also wanted to make this video as sort of a litmus test, because I think that advice we're giving is also just what's on our minds. This is going to also kind of clue you all into what Peace Corps volunteers who have just been sworn in, so we finished training and now we're deployed, about what we're thinking about right now. So I have a little list here, that's why I keep looking down, just to make sure I don't miss anything. So first you're going to hear from me, and then you're going to hear from my fellow volunteers. The videos that I recorded with them were the night before swear-in, and then the video that I'm recording now is about a week after the swear-in ceremony. So first piece of advice I have is just to say yes to things. In our host village, someone had a wedding. We didn't know who they were, but someone said there was a wedding, and it's within Gambian cultural parameters to go if you hear about something. So we went, and they were having singing and dancing, and then they made all the volunteers, there were 4 of us in the village, sing and dance while everyone else just kind of laughed and clapped. And it was a little embarrassing, but they saw that we were really making an effort and having a good time. And so after that, we seemed to be greeted more warmly as a result. Showing up is worth more than you think. What's a good example? For example, here in my host village, they had a Pular class for half adults and half children to learn reading, spelling, etc. during the summer months. And I just showed up, and then as part of that, it's not like a transactional thing, but just as a thank you, the participants in the class went to the teacher's farm and weeded her crops for her. And I showed up and I started helping, and then they quickly realized I could not tell the difference between a peanut plant and a weed. I've since started to learn the difference. But what that meant was, okay, he's here, he's trying, and then I realized, okay, well, let me just pick up, the weeds that they leave behind, get those in a pile so we can get them out of the field. And that they really appreciated that I was just showing up, saying yes, and trying. So just know that your expectations of what you're going to do is going to change with your community, and it's also going to vary based on your community. So for example, some other volunteers, their school already has a library, my site doesn't. So my initial thought was, maybe I'll build a library, but school's out right now, but I haven't talked to the head teacher about that. Maybe they don't want a library. I know for a fact they want to build a fence. So they might say, Campbell, a library would be nice, but we want the fence first. Can you work on that? So just know that your goalposts are no longer your own, in terms of what you're doing with the community. But just know that your expectations before the application, after you submit the application, when you get there, and when you get to permanent site. Those are 4 very different contexts in which to build those expectations. So just be aware that those are going to change. Another big thing for me is to celebrate the victories when you have them, and don't just pass those up and move on to the next goalpost aspiration that you have. In my host family, we have 2 very, very young babies, 6 and 9 months or something like that. And when they first saw me, they would cry as soon as we made eye contact. because I was the first white person they had ever seen. But over, time, I kind of like slowly but surely found ways to play with them from a distance, like waving, smiling, making funny faces. And now they're all over. They're all over me. Like when they see me, they smile, they wave. One of them has a really aggressive high five game that we play where I'll just hold my hand up and he will just whack it. Which is always a time and a half. But that's like a victory that I didn't expect, but like I'm very proud of, that I've been able to help integrate into my family with the very young kids, as well as everybody else. But that was something I didn't expect, and I'm very proud of myself for, because I didn't think that was going to be a factor making them. And so a big victory for me in learning the language has been learning how to make jokes in the language, especially because Gambian humor is very different from American humor. So for example, when, again, very young children see me, for the first couple of times, they will cry. And at first, all the adults were like, oh, they would pick up the child and like bring them towards me, as if getting used to me in close proximity would speed up the process of them not being scared. We quickly realized that would just make them cry more. And so instead, what I would say is, in Pular, which I'm proud of myself for learning, this sentence, I would say, oh, I understand, it's because I'm ugly. When it was obviously because I was the first white person they had seen. And in Gambia, another big thing is joking relationships. So, for example, my host family's last name is Kande, and so when I see anyone with the last name Ba or Balde, we have a joking relationship with them, meaning like whenever we see them, we just tell them they eat too much, or that they like stole your goat, or something like that. And I was very proud to pick up on that and learn to make jokes around that, and learn to identify when jokes were being told to me because of my host surname. And so that's the victory that for me personally, because humor was such a big part of my personality in the US, that I'm starting to develop that. And it's not there yet here in the Gambia, or in America, depending on who you ask. But I'm really proud of that moment too. So the advice, in conclusion, the advice I would give there is, one, celebrate those victories, but two, learn how to find your personality in the host culture.
It's the advice that I give to future volunteers at this point in service. You made it this far and you're really scared, but do it anyway. Do it scared. And make sure you take, if you can, extra Pepto-Bismol, because you are going to need it.
Hi, how are you? My advice to upcoming Peace Corps volunteers, or Peace Corps volunteers, I guess, starting in their training, is to just take everything day by day, because 2 years can be pretty daunting, especially when you're going through a lot of challenges and also successes. So just take everything day by day, and if you need to, take it everything minute by minute, and then you'll get through it and it will suddenly fly by.
If you're waiting for a time that I'll do it when I'm ready, you're never going to be fully ready. So just do it, and then you'll catch up with yourself later. Also, you're going to poop a lot, so be ready, because it hasn't stopped. I guess we'll let you know when it does. And then just positive attitude, or denial, whatever gets you through.
I would say my advice right now is that remember why you're here, remember your heart for service, and remember that there's gonna be good times. Remember that there's gonna be good times, there's gonna be bad times, but always remember to choose hope over fear, because just as much as fear only has the power that we give it, hope only has the power that we give it, and hope will lead you to far more success. So don't let fear hold you back. Choose hope.